Hi everyone, welcome to my Live at 5. It's great to come together every Wednesday and give you a little bit of information on what's going on in Supermums. And I am absolutely delighted today to have Hannah with me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Hannah before I let her tell you all about herself. So what I would say is, you know, from Hannah's perspective, she is the founder of Mavon Kairos, and I hope I've said that right, because I always get it wrong, Hannah. you can say it clearer once you get there. So anyway, Hannah is the founder, and she works as a fractional director of transformation, and she's currently embedded with a university leading the change delivery behind a Salesforce Education Cloud implementation. So a great place to be, and we are absolutely delighted to hear from her today. Now, Hannah brings with her a career that's spanning product development, portfolio management, marketing, project delivery, and technology across both private and public sectors, with a strong focus on making transformation work in practice, not just on paper. So Hannah completed her Supermums consultancy course, and I am so proud to say that, which played a key role in shaping her approach to CRM transformation. She's passionate, as are we all, about making a difference and helping organisations, particularly in higher education, which is obviously Hannah's niche, to build the foundations that make CRM implementations succeed long after implementation partners have gone, which is, again, really important to have someone like Hannah on your side. So, of course, I have to say we're proudly, and we say this all the time, representing Team Devon today. There are very few of us down here. So with me in Ilfracombe on the North Coast and with Hannah in Plymouth, it's really great. We're gradually getting, I think we've got 7 in our little group now. So if you are from Devon and you're watching this, please reach out to one of us and we'd be loving to add you in. So Hannah, it's so great to have you with us today. Thank you for joining me. And I'd love to start by asking you to introduce yourself, please, in your own words, and tell us a little bit about your Salesforce journey, please.
Thanks, Lynn. It's really lovely to be here. Thanks for the invite. So I'm Hannah Garvin, as you said. I'm the founder of Mavon Kairos, and it's a transformation consultancy that offers fractional director support. So what does that mean? It means that I embed with organisations at the executive and the senior leadership level to help them set up their structures and their governance and their ways of working so that they can deliver complex change. So right now I'm working with a university in the Southwest, and I'm helping them through a major CRM transformation, which is underpinned by the Salesforce Education Cloud product. So I'm not a Salesforce technical specialist by any means, and I have come from a project management background. And so the build itself is being delivered by an implementation partner. And I believe most organizations that buy into Salesforce will engage with an implementation partner to build their initial functionality. So my role is everything around that build. So it's about the change strategy, it's about the governance, it's about preparing that organization to be able to actually adopt and sustain the system once that partner steps back. So I guess that's a perspective I think often gets missed in those CRM conversations. There's a lot of focus on the technology and the build and not enough on whether the organization and its people are ready for it. So I really focus on the people and process part of transformation, which have to come before the technology. So that's what I'm currently doing, and that's where my focus lies. So it's very much in front of the implementation of CRM.
And that's, you know, great to hear. I know you and I have had numerous conversations about this, and I think it's so important what you're doing. I think, you know, you have been on this great journey, and you know, it's great to hear, you know, where you've come to from on the back of it. But as we said before, you've had quite a varied career across marketing, project work, technology before moving into Salesforce. I always like to ask this question, what originally sparked your interest in Salesforce and what motivated you to make that transition?
So my career started in the food industry. Everyone will think chef, but not chefs. This was food processing, manufacturing, very much sort of like mass scale industry within the food industry. And it's an operationally quite a complex environment. So it depends heavily on technological platforms for its supply chain. So whether it's, the computer and the barcode scanner that you're using for goods in, or whether it's the machines that are making your loaves of bread look artisanal, or whether it's, processing lasagnas at scale, it's pretty complex, and there's a lot of compliance and a lot of forecasting that's involved. So I've always worked at the intersection where the business lies between operations and technology. And so my role within the food industry at that time was very much between ops and tech. So I guess I was always exposed to technology, had a love of food, and probably denied that I had a love of tech. But the reality is that, I geeked out on new systems and platforms that were exposed to me through the food industry. So I guess by the time I felt like I was fed up of food in my day job because I wasn't loving my food at home, I realized it was probably about time to change direction. So I thought, well, what else really gets me? And it was tech. So I guess what must be 8-9 years ago now, I moved out of food and into tech. And my first role saw me working with local councils, mainly around the sort of child safeguarding and adult safeguarding side of things. But it also brought me alongside school trusts and private learning providers. And so I worked on learning management systems, not specifically the CRM systems, but they are quite similar in terms of what they provide, and that one source of truth and all the information that you want to hand on an individual, on a student, on a customer, on a safeguarding person. You want all of that information at your fingertips. So I started working on those systems and was very much involved in helping the users of those systems solve problems. So the system didn't do X and they wanted it to be able to do X because it would solve so many other things for them. So I would work with them to write their project briefs so that I could take it to the developers I worked with and get them to build that solution. So I think that's where I suddenly realized how much tech can do for people and how much it is about that service that it provides. It's about designing the service for the end user. We think that sometimes systems are all about making administration quicker and faster, and that's not untrue. But if we're speeding up administration at the cost of our customers, then we have to really ask ourselves why we're not having the trade-off in the other way. Let's take more time on the administrative tasks that maybe we can't fully automate, but actually by doing it that way, they give a better customer experience. So I really love the fact that this is where my tech experience and my project management experience was taking me. So after that company, I actually joined a software startup, and they built high assurance platforms in the private sector, anything from conveyancing apps to healthcare and banking, investor platforms, security services, and even like an admissions platform for law students. So by helping so many different clients improve their existing platforms or build them new ones off the back of previous platforms they had kind of bodged along the way to get them to service what they needed, I could really tell that there was such a need to be able to solve their problems, but not just solve their problems for the service that they were offering, but have that knock-on impact to the end customer, to that front end user, the person that is using the service ultimately. So I guess from touching the education sector through that software company, I something intrinsically in me sort of said, this is about making a difference at grassroots.
Yeah.
So I had come across Salesforce probably 2008 when I was working in the food industry, and I'd come across it a few other times, but I'd also come across multiple other CRM platforms and was always frustrated that they were underutilized. most organizations, dabbled in them 10%, and that might just be with 1 or 2 departments. So when I decided that I wanted to do more with my journey into tech and into software development, I really started to harness onto the power of what a CRM platform can provide an organization. And I guess that's really what struck me the most, is that systems like Salesforce have that capability that they can work for most departments in an organization and provide that central source of truth and central source of information that allows them to make better business decisions and more integrated business decisions that aren't just focused on one area, but are focused on the business holistically. So yeah, knowing that the investment was there with organizations, but not the adoption, I felt that there was a great win to be had. So that's where I decided that specializing was probably going to be the key. So I started to look at Salesforce and the qualifications that they offered and the experience that could be gained there. So I stepped in to do my qualification with Supermums. And alongside that, my exposure to education, to the university I'm working with now, grew. And actually, it really provided me with the ability to say, actually, it's not just about giving back to grassroots, but I can do this and show them and provide them with a tool in which to do this with. And so how do we improve how education institutions can operate and give their students a better experience, really started to connect that intrinsic value of doing something at grassroots level with my career, as well as using technology to facilitate that. So I suppose every institution has evolved over time. They've gone from very paperwork based and very in-person lecture based delivery to far more technical orientated delivery and needing more platforms to document all of their information in and provide their students with quicker information on how they're doing in their own studies. And I suppose knowing that they were struggling with digital in terms of big investment in lots of systems, but not all of those systems talking to each other, I really felt that leaning into Salesforce, leaning into CRM would actually be a great way to help them start to solve that problem, knowing that many institutions are going down that route of trying to rationalize their digital products. So I suppose the value of a CRM platform sat really well with me in terms of knowing it could touch many facets of an organization. It doesn't just have to be education, but across the private sector, the fact that a CRM platform can allow every department to have its own functionality within that system starts to make a real difference, starts to provide economies of scale, starts to really put the value at the forefront of the decision making. So that, coupled with actually, being able to help improve the student experience and set them up for success, not just through university, but sort of coming out the other end and into the working world, that sat really well with me. So I, a year ago, almost to the day, a year ago, I stepped out of employment and into setting up my own consultancy business with a focus of using CRM tools and Salesforce as that lever to supporting organizations in rationalizing their digital assets and focusing on what was truly going to make a difference to the service that they're offering, and then taking them on that change journey to get ready to take on implementing a CRM platform like Salesforce. I think what aligned really well with me in making that decision is that an opportunity came up with a local university down here that were going through their transformation program, and they were looking for someone to come in and support that from a project level. At the time, I didn't know that they were necessarily looking at CRM, but it was definitely a thought for myself that, yeah, okay, they're on this journey, they're definitely going to be looking at their digital assets and what works and what doesn't. And it was probably a couple of months into that consultancy with them that we really looked under the hood and looked at their plan, and they said, yeah, well, we want a CRM system, and we're looking to pick up Education Cloud. So from that point, I was able to really pull apart their strategy and align it to the scope that is offered through Education Cloud and all of the different functions it can offer. So I suppose through that early opportunity, I've really been able to end up in the right place at the right time, providing advice when it's mattered. And that for me is why I started my consultancy.
I love that. And I think, it makes me so proud because you and I had a conversation back in the day. And to see you today, how you have absolutely grown and your confidence is just incredible. And, I am super proud of you, Hannah, of where you've come. And, when you said that you did the course with Supermums, as we know, as did I back in the day, how did that experience help shape your confidence, and how has that opened up that opportunity for you?
Yeah, so I think Supermums came at a point where I had consciously made a decision that I needed to change or pivot my direction somewhat. I needed to get into something that was going to be far more rewarding than what I was doing. Yeah. And I knew that I wanted to go back and study, but I didn't really know what at the time. And I think, again, my exposure and working with CRM systems through previous work and feeling really frustrated about how people use them or didn't use them is what put me on the path of Salesforce. And then finding Supermums actually offered the qualification through a remote learning environment really appealed to me, because I knew that I could have done it online. I knew I could have done it through Trailhead, but I really wanted to start to reconnect or connect with people that were way beyond my usual circle of connections. Yeah. Because if I was gonna pivot, then that means I also needed to expand the group that I was connecting with and the people I was connecting with. So, as I say, Supermums came at a time where I was really looking to pivot and rebuild, and I had been through a period of burnout, and was basically trying to work out where my career was going to take me next, what it would look like going forward, and what trade-offs I had to make in order to get there. So developing my understanding of the CRM space and knowing that actually I wanted that to be my niche, coupled with the change management and the product development work and project management work I had done before, it just started to click into place and really, really make sense. So I guess joining Supermums and joining that remote learning environment allowed me to see that there wasn't just me that was pivoting. There was plenty of others looking to pivot and expand their experience. People, with decades of experience within tech or within industries that had been using tech, or people returning to the work environment, having realized that they had a massive gap in their tech experience and were using the CRM platform and Salesforce to help bring them back into the tech space and how it could support not just them building their career, but them supporting and helping others. So I suppose the admin course gave me that insight into that learning environment and the fact that, you're not the only one looking to pivot and take what skills you have and transfer them to something else, whether it's something else completely different or whether it's just a slight pivot in the direction that you were headed in the industry. So that's what the first course gave me. And I suppose what the consultancy course gave me was that ability to sharpen what I was trying to create and how I wanted to position myself. And it helped me understand the Salesforce ecosystem and how that ecosystem is designed to extend far beyond just licenses for its customers, but to provide its customer base with the ability to continually build their strength within the systems and the processes that the Salesforce ecosystem offers. Salesforce isn't just about, selling licenses and being, thanks very much for a new customer. It's about making sure that you've always got this future vision for your organization with that product. And they're very focused on making sure that they're setting you up with the right tools. And I think what Supermums did in the consultancy course was provide you with a plethora of tools that were very much focused on the Salesforce language and the Salesforce ecosystem. So that made it really easy, having come from product and project management background to really start understanding and knowing how I could apply that and how I could create that niche. And that gave me a lot of confidence, because I suddenly realized actually it's just about how I'm packaging myself up, how I'm packaging my consultancy offering. And it's not about fighting for the same space as implementation partners or not necessarily other system administrators. It's about going, how do I, with my experience in project management and project management, how do I take those skill sets and make sure that I can wrap them into a change management delivery that allows me to set organizations up that I'm going to be working with to get ready for that digital change. And, you know, most organizations now are going down the CRM route, and it's really important that they get themselves ready, because previously organizations would buy systems for a department. Now they're buying systems for the organization. It's not, oh, we're going to get an HR system and introduce it to HR. It's, we're going to buy this product, and within it we will build our HR system, we'll build our HR app, we'll make it so that every piece of information associated with this organization is in one place. So it's about getting everybody ready for that. And that in itself, I've always been used to touching every area that helps a business function, and the fact that the CRM system does that gave me great confidence in how I can package that up, because it's about the whole picture, not about the different pieces that make up that full picture. So for me, it was really learning about how to brand myself, how to package myself, how to take all of those decades of experience and package them into something that provided value, not just value to my clients, but also to the suppliers that I'd work with through those clients, and how it would add value to, I suppose, to my business in terms of making sure that I'm delivering skill set and providing them with the ability to continue long after I've left, rather than providing them with dependency. So for me, it was about making sure that whatever it was I offered as a consultant or as a consultancy company, is to make sure that actually we bring a skill set that you don't have. We implement that for you. We give you the governance that you don't have, that if this is to be successful, you're going to need. And then we step back and watch it work. We'll step in and tweak it. But eventually we can walk away knowing that you're not dependent on consultancy. You've just used it to set yourself up for the best possible success. So yeah, I think that's really, I suppose, what that did for me, engaging with supermums and engaging with a broad collection of people from different careers, different countries even. It gave me that confidence to actually look at things completely differently, and be able to know what it was that I wanted to offer through my consultancy.
I think as well, you know, when you say about user adoption, I think having someone on the team that is, you know, doing what you're doing is incredible, because like you say, people take on their CRM, Salesforce, predominantly the #1 CRM in the world. They take on Salesforce, and unless everyone adopts it correctly, it's never going to be retained, is it? Because, you know, everyone needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet. And I think what you've clearly done is it's not about what you know. Sometimes it's about what people know you know. And I think you've taken your niche, which has come from, you know, a passion. Knowledge is power, absolutely. So you've grown your knowledge, and I think, you know, it's just so refreshing to see that you're not expecting to know everything. You're expecting to know and deliver on what you do know. So I think it's sometimes people, you know, even me, go in and expect, you know, to know everything on day one, but that doesn't happen, right? So I think, you know, it's great that you've found your niche, you've found your USP, you've run with it, and, you know, and you're doing a great job. But another question, I suppose, that's come to mind is you're working with Salesforce in this education space, as we said. But for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a bit of an understanding? What is Education Cloud, and how does it support organisations like universities or other training providers?
Sure. So I suppose at its core, Education Cloud is just a Salesforce platform built for education institutions, and it gives those institutions, the university or the college, a single connected view of someone's entire journey. And I say someone, the student, the customer, and that's from the first moment that they inquire. Oh, tell me more about this course, or oh, you've got an open day, can I come? So from that first point of contact all the way through to post-graduation and becoming an alumni. So what Salesforce have done is they've taken the best parts of all of their products and they've built it into Education Cloud, because when we talk about that first engagement, that's Marketing Cloud. It's about that first point of contact that the student or the prospective student makes. Therefore, they're a lead, and we're trying to convert them into an opportunity. And that opportunity comes when they have actually put in their application form. They only get converted when they've obviously accepted or been made an offer and accepted. So Education Cloud is just very much focused on providing that student journey to the student first and foremost, but allowing all of the touch points that student will go through on their journey to engage with them in one central place. So, we talked about that first point of contact, but that's recruitment. From recruitment, they'll head into admissions, so submitting their university application. They'll then go through various elements of student engagement, whether that's driven by the marketing team, or whether it's driven by the admissions team themselves inquiring about qualifications that the student has or more evidence that they need to provide, all the way through into their taught journey. So being able to track a student's progress through their courses and their modules, being able to see what their marks are from a lecturer's perspective, but also from maybe an extenuating circumstances perspective. A student might have had some troubles where they need to seek some extra support or take some time out of their studies. And by having a single place for those connections and for that engagement allows the university to support that student through successes and trials and tribulations, including accommodation access, sports centre access, library, you name it, anything that the student might want to touch during their university journey can be done through the Education Cloud platform. Obviously, you've got to build all these elements into it. It's not buy it today, turn it on tomorrow, and there it all is. You have to build these. But what Education Cloud does is it ensures that from that first contact point to the alumni status of a student, any member of staff with the appropriate access and permissions can get a full picture of that student within minutes. At the moment, what we have across higher education is all of that information is with different teams and different departments, and there is a void between them to have information shared easily, because one department has this system and another department has that, and actually the two don't talk. So you have to export information, download to an Excel document, and then send it over to the other department so that they've got the information they're looking for. And Salesforce Education Cloud removes that. It allows a student to know that they only need to give their information once, and then it doesn't matter what part of the university they connect with. We've already got that information. We don't need to ask them what your date of birth is. Can I confirm your phone number? If you've got an email address, all that information is there. All you need to do is train your staff on is, have you updated your phone number recently? Are you still using this email address? So then it becomes a much easier way to ensure that your students don't fall through the cracks, whether they're falling through the cracks in recruitment, through admissions, or through their taught journey when they're reaching out for additional support services, or whether they're requesting maybe a break for a year or a withdrawal. You're making sure that they're not falling through the cracks, and that you're also able to assess a student's engagement. So, we always want students to have a great first year and progress into the second year. But the reality is, within higher education, that's where the biggest fallout is. And so if we've got better visibility and better sight of the data in terms of students' attendance to their lectures, as well as submissions of their coursework and their grading, you can run reports and metrics in the background that will quickly tell you whether you have students that are at risk. And Education Cloud has done this incredibly well. So what this allows universities to do is to focus on taking care of the students rather than trying to take care of connecting processes and systems and data to departments that currently run off their own systems and IT platforms.
And I think, you know, having that, as you said, that single source of truth, I mean, that's, you know, that's obviously when you're talking about reports and dashboards and all of that lovely stuff. I think having everyone's data all in one place is just so, you know, it's incredibly powerful, isn't it? And it's where the magic happens, I think, isn't it? So
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so education organisations often have very complex journeys, as you've just said, from recruitment, again, as you just said, to student engagement and alumni relationships. What are some of the key challenges that you see in the sector, and how does Salesforce help them address? I mean, I suppose you've sort of covered that off actually in the last conversation, haven't you? Did you want to add anything to that, or shall I just ask you another question?
No, I think so. I think I can give a briefer sort of summary of that. But I think what I will say is, you know, higher education is facing some serious challenges out in the market. The face of education, higher education in particular, is changing rapidly, and it's really hard for universities to keep up. And so Salesforce won't solve everything. It won't allow them to solve the market challenges they face. But what it will do is allow them to get data quicker, to make the right choices. By having all of their data in one place, what it will do is it will provide them with quicker decision making. It will allow them to focus their efforts on retention in a much better way. So for me, that the challenge is that fragmentation, really. You know, universities are complex and there's a lot of autonomous departments, and each has their own process, as I've said, and their own systems. So that's not a criticism. That's just the nature of how they found themselves over decades of course delivery. And so now it's about how the institutions need to evolve to make sure that they can create this connected student experience. And their biggest challenge is working against those years of embedded practices. And it's really about saying, you know, CRM is like your second chance to pull it all apart and introduce it to a system that gives you a 360 view that will touch every part of it and allow the institution to be really prepared for the future. You know, by bringing in a CRM system, it's a courageous move. It's a lot of money for institutions that are struggling financially anyway. But what it does is it provides them with the ability that when they've got it set up and set up right, it allows them to focus their efforts where the effort should be, and that's on the student, not on nursing end-of-life systems along just to get the data that you need. So for them, it's really about making sure that what gets built for the future, not just gets built as a replication of the disparate systems and the disconnections that you're already working with.
I think this is where Hannah Garvin comes in, am I right?
Yeah, basically.
So from your experience, Hannah, what does a really successful Education Cloud implementation look like?
So I think the organisation has to accept it's never going to be 100% ready for it. It needs to, you know, get itself as ready as possible, and that's what that's what I have designed to do with my consultancy is to get it ready for that, not on the technical sense, but that structure and that culture within its people and process. So by working at the front end of CRM and making sure that current processes are really being put through their paces and are being improved, and the bottlenecks are being removed, that for me is the first start to a successful Education Cloud implementation. Because what you don't want to do is do this work when you bring your implementation partner in. Your implementation partner is there to build your product, to build what you know you want. And what we find with a lot of organizations is that they think they know what they want, but they wait for the implementation partner to come in, and then the implementation partner does all the discovery with them and actually burns through that budget that you've signed off.
Yeah.
So really, it's about the institutions setting themselves up from the very beginning and saying, we are in 12 months going to invest in a CRM platform. Before that happens, we need to be really clear about what we want it to do, which means they have to do a deep dive into those systems, those processes. They have to know what they want their outcomes to be and work backwards from the outcomes to say, well, what do those activities need to be and what outputs are they creating? Okay, they've delivered our outcomes, but what's the impact they're then having? And is the impact right for what we are about in terms of vision and mission? So if the impact isn't right, then you know the activities aren't right either. You might be getting the outputs that you want, but it's not creating the impact that you want. So it has to have a positive impact in some way or another on the student. So a successful implementation is knowing what you want before the implementation partner comes in, before you start spending money on an expensive delivery build. It's worth the money, but only if you put that work in up front. And that work in up front is going to cost you time, and it might cost you money because you might need to bring the expertise in to be able to do those discoveries, and not just do the discoveries, but create the service that is needed for your customer. So in this case, the students. So if organizations can do that and spend time on that discovery and know that it is going to take them 12 months, especially in the likes of higher education or further education, everything is cyclical. Everything is a 12-month period. You don't always see the changes you make today. They might not come out until 12 months from now because you have to wait for it to go through its paces. So for me, it's about making sure you're building up that central team that's going to help you deliver your service. And then it's about being able to document it in the right way so that when you hand over to an implementation partner, the discovery that you might do with them is more refinement and bringing them into the headspace of your institution or your organization to say, yeah, we know exactly who you are and what you want and what you're trying to achieve for your customer, for your student. And then you might spend a few weeks on discovery with your implementation partner before everyone feels comfortable and confident to go to build. If you don't do that upfront, then you could spend half of your development budget on discovery with your implementation partner, and that's not their expertise. They're very good at it, but that's not where they want to be spending your money. They want to be spending your money on a really good build, giving you the documentation and the training support you need to build the adoption for launch. So what does a good implementation look like? Time up front to make sure that the time you spend in the middle is spent on the right things. And then it's about making sure that all the way through that initial upfront discovery through to being ready to sign off and go live, that you have done an extremely good communications engagement with all of your stakeholders, that you've tested with your students and that you've tested with your academics and your professional services staff, and that you've not left anybody out. Because if you don't communicate your plan for change and what you're bringing with your CRM platform, your adoption rate is going to be really low. Your training, attendance at training might be amazing and you might think, yeah, this is going to be brilliant. But if your communication hasn't been right throughout that whole entire journey, you'll get through training and you'll have what might seem like a high adoption rate for the first few weeks, and then you'll start to see that decline. And so there's an important role for the team to play after that, which is just because it's gone live doesn't mean your job is done. Every month, start getting feedback. Transformation is about big change, but the job after transformation is about continuous improvement. So you're always evolving, you're always refining the service that you're offering, you're always tweaking bits so that it gives an even better result, or so that you're better set for that next change, which might then be 12 months after your launch, you start moving down Agentforce and setting up your agents within your admission space or your accommodation space, for example. So yeah, it's really about making sure that people are aware of the time that's needed and the investment in people that's needed to bring about the technology change. Because without the people first and then the process, the technology will always stumble.
Without a doubt. I think, you know, there's a few key words that I've taken from what you've just said. You know, people, process, preparation, communication, time and budget, all of these things are absolutely paramount. So I think, you know, what you're doing is really great. I have got a double question that I'm probably going to pull two together for you. So just thinking about, first of all, you know, you've gone from marketing, you've done, I suppose, how has that helped you in your journey? And also thinking about your journey so far, what's one key lesson you've learned that you wish you knew earlier?
Okay, I'll start with the first then.
Take it down, Hannah.
Yeah. I think having worked across product development, you touch all of those different facets, you touch all of those different elements, and you speak to different people. So you start to learn the language each area needs you to speak in to get that buy-in. So I think that mix of experience has helped me ensure that I'm getting the right outputs from each of those areas. And they've got a really clear understanding of what that bigger picture is. So you can't always deliver your message in one shape or one form or one medium. You're going to have to work out how you need to deliver that message across different facets so that they have the buy-in that you need them to have to deliver their part of the change. And I think it's understanding what it's doing for them. So it's about making sure that you understand that, you know, how each area is going to benefit, how each individual is going to benefit, what pain points is it going to remove from them. And I think by actually understanding the teams and their need from the system, you get a much better delivery on the technology becoming something that's adopted and depended upon rather than something that they've been told they need to use. So I think in that sense, my mix of experience has helped me understand how technology can deliver to every facet of the business, every individual of the business. And it's about talking their language so that they can understand it, not bamboozling them with, you know, tech talk or transformation talk, because they're their own languages. So I think that combination means you have to be able to sit in a room and deliver that message to senior leaders, as equally be able to sit down with your caseworkers and your frontline staff and share with them, actually, yes, we're asking you to spend more time on this task, but look at the great result you're giving to the student over here. And if they understand those trade-offs, then you get their buy-in, and therefore your adoption rate for the platform spreads and is something that is maintainable, not is a fight to get them to use. So I'm just about connecting those people, connecting those messages, connecting those benefits.
Yeah, and I suppose it's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about your key lesson?
My key lesson? Ooh, I think you said it earlier. An observation you made of my approach to my consultancy is you don't have to be an expert at everything to add real value. You just need to know how your expertise adds value for others, and to know when other expertise is needed. And I think that's what I've developed here, is that actually I don't know everything. I know how to set up and lead the governance structure and try and test that and work with teams to adopt it. But actually there comes a point where I do need a service design expert. I do need a project manager who has specialism or expertise, seasoned expertise in delivering CRM for education. And it's knowing when the timing's right to bring those expertise in. And it's not about you building the system and being instrumental in every aspect of it. It's about moving things into the right place at the right time with the right information. So I think for me, that's it, is knowing where your expertise lie and accepting that, and knowing when it's right to bring in others or anticipate when you need to bring in others, so that you're paving the way to make sure that they're brought in at the right time. And it's not, oh, hang on, wait, we should have brought someone in 6 months ago for this, and then you've created blockers for yourself. So yeah, it's knowing when you add real value and when you need to bring in other expertise to complement that value.
And I think that's so right, because we all complement each other. When you've got a team, which, you know, we all know the old saying, the teamwork makes the dream work. That's absolutely right. When you think, like we said, you don't need to know everything, but you need to know what you know. And that, you know, I know that sounds a bit of a strange way to put it, but yeah. I think it's, you know, if you are clear on what you can deliver on, and you know another person that can deliver on something else, then absolutely, this is where we all work so well together as humans, although you don't hear us talking about humans so much these days. Yeah. But you, Hannah, are, as am I, very clear about your passion about community and growth and, you know, continuous learning. But how's being part of the Salesforce ecosystem and communities like Supermums, how's that impacted your career?
I think more than I expected, actually. When I looked at Supermums for the Salesforce course, I was just looking for that technical knowledge and giving myself more career optionality. And I found a community that I probably wasn't expecting to find. I knew that there was a community because that's why I joined and wanted to learn remotely with a cohort. But I think what they did, and, you know, sort of connecting with many in that cohort, gave me the ability to, I guess, find a different professional confidence within that space and take confidence that what I was trying to do was right for me. I think being around people who were also making really brave career moves was great, because there was an honesty in the room about the challenges that you faced and how you could support each other. And I wasn't really expecting that, thinking about a remote learning course. And actually the WhatsApp group and the Slack groups that connected us all really felt like there were people in the room doing that journey with you, not you know, hundreds of miles away. So I think that environment really normalized the idea that you can go on a non-linear career path and that you can strengthen that career path along the way by knowing what value it is that you bring to what you're offering. So I think now being coupled with the Community Champions initiative as well, that's been quite a natural step for me. But I'm not the sort of person to be able to walk you through every facet of Education Cloud. I'm more the person that can provide you with an understanding of the environment and the industry that Education Cloud is being used within, and how you can get your message across. You know, you might be working within higher education or further education now, and you might be in an administrative role and people are talking about CRM systems. I can have that conversation with you about, you know, those other things to look for in terms of preparing yourself and your team for adopting such technology. And I think it's knowing that you don't have to be a specialist in the tech with all the tech knowledge to be able to add that value and support with people understanding the governance that might be involved or the change that might be involved for individuals or teams. And so I think I wasn't really expecting the community that I ended up with, but it's definitely a place that I go to pressure test thinking, and I guess any change in direction that I might want some advice on, or things that crop up that are unexpected and you just want to sound it out. And I think that's really sort of how Supermums has impacted my career and Salesforce, because the exposure to, I guess, the Salesforce ecosystem and the connections I've made there, whether it's been through other Salesforce suppliers, whether it be through implementation partners or other consultant groups, it's a big network, but it's a small family. And that's what I think it's done for me. It's given me the opportunity to reach out to many different areas for advice and expertise that I might need to lean into.
Yeah, and I think, you know, from my perspective as well, I'm, you know, a huge advocate for community. And you hit the nail on the head when you said family, because of course they call Salesforce Ohana, which is the family. But, you know, when you think that Supermums is a family within a family or a community within a community. Absolutely. It's just so refreshing that everyone can do this together. I think together, you know, we can change the world. Absolutely. But just before we wrap up, and you know, I'm sure that you have other things to do other than talk to me, but for anyone that is watching today, you know, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. I know we've sat on the train many a time and chatted on our way from Devon up to London. But for anyone watching today that's considering a move into Salesforce or consulting, of course, what would be your top piece of advice, please?
Oh, I suppose it's always quite it's always quite unnerving when you're making a career change. So I think my advice is just start with what you already know. Every skill and experience that you've built in your career has value in this ecosystem, and you just need to, like, you don't need to start from scratch. You just need to lean into what you already know and weave in the Salesforce ecosystem as you go. You'll find where it fits. I think you'll realize that there's so many things that are transferable. You have that ability to build your expertise with Salesforce interwoven. Your expertise have to come with you, because you can't make your career change. You can't make a pivot into Salesforce or into a technology ecosystem without bringing your previous experience with you. You've already used tech for the best part of your working life. So have a different lens and look at it slightly differently. How have you used that technology? What have your frustrations been? Why have you been frustrated? What do you wish people had asked you before they invested in this platform they forced you to use? And I think if you look at your own career path and the skills you've built along the way with a slightly different lens, when you're looking to make a pivot, you will see it quite differently, and you'll realize that actually the skills you bring with you are extremely valuable to complementing your learning journey and picking up a different career path.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And, you know, as I say, it's always a pleasure to chat to you, Hannah. And I think this has gone on a lot longer than I normally do, but I had so many questions for you, so I hope you didn't mind that.
Thank you.
But, you know, thank you. As I say, thank you. Another member of our amazing team, Devon. I know I said that before, but you know, it's been a real pleasure, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed listening to Hannah's story today. I am sure that Hannah wouldn't mind if I said reach out, find her on LinkedIn, send her a DM. She is always happy to chat, I'm sure, amongst her very busy lifestyle, as she's just said. But thank you so much for watching. And Hannah, did you want to add anything before we leave today?
No, I think, you know, just believe in what it is that you want to achieve, and keep heading for it. You might end up on a slightly different path, but, you know, pivoting is the norm now. So, you know, embrace that change, and know that you'll have your ups and your downs, but there's a community of support behind you.
Love it. Thank you. So next week, I'll be back on my Wednesday live at 5. So join me for another community champion. Thank you very much, Hannah. Take care.
Thank you, Lynn.